Guys, welcome to Hive and Harvest. We are going to do a check today of our main colony. So really doing a check here. It's kind of early spring, mid-spring. I checked several weeks ago to see if there was any possibility of a swarm. Didn't think there was, but I did end up catching the swarm a couple weeks later. So today's inspection is a couple of things. One, want to check the super and see how the bees are doing in making honey, see how we're going there. I do want to check also the brood box, see how that's going, see if that's still healthy, and see if I can identify if I still have my old queen, meaning that the swarm I caught is not from my hive, or that I find a new queen, meaning that my hive colony likely swarmed, but they're still going strong. So that's what we're going to do today. Um, this is a little bit different than a normal hive. It is an auto shed, has an auto shed frame for the super, which I'll kind of show you what that looks like. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of do a little bit of smoke in to my hive, see if I can't calm the bees down a little bit. They are pretty active today, which is good. It's a warm day. So I'm hoping that a lot of the bees are out and about um, and not in the hive, which will make it a little bit easier to check. So just getting my smoker box a little bit going again. Get me some smoke going. That way I can have a little bit more smoke for the bees. So getting them going a little bit. And I'll get my little top off. There we go. Got my lid off. I'm going to actually put it right open top here. That keeps the bees from going up into my lid, so that way they don't make comb up in my lid. They'll pretty much make comb wherever they can find room, so you have to do your best to keep them from going places you don't want them to go. Pop that over there. So this is my super. It has the auto shed frames in it. Um, so they do put propolis. Propolis is pretty much like bee glue. They put it in every hole they can find in order to make sure, keep their hive secure, keep their hive warm in winter. So good for them. It does make it a little bit difficult to pop open and check the hive sometimes because they really like to glue it together. So I'm going to pop some things apart a little bit. I'm not going to check every frame in the super because I'm really just checking. They start from the center and work out. So if I look at a frame that is close to the middle, okay, there we go. If I can get this up, there we are. I can get a sense of how far along we are. So this one got a good number of bees, not as much as we'll see a little bit later in the year. On this side, you can kind of see they started to fill out. So with these auto shed frames, they fill in the frames that are there with some more wax and propolis, and then they start putting honey in it. So I can see honey all in here, nectar, and some pollen. And then once they get to the point of capping it off, that's when you know that you are just about ready to harvest some honey. So I'm going to put this one back in and check out one or two more just to see how we're doing. There we go. Ooh. Same here. See some honey, so I'm starting to get just a little bit of capped honey there. So they're moving right along. I see honey and nectar and a good bit of the comb. So we are definitely making our way here. And then this one looks really good. I saw this one from inside. So I'll pop this one out real quick to show you what it looks like the further along they get. So this one you can see they've already started capping almost all of the middle part. And so what you're looking for is to get the whole thing capped. And that is when you will know you are ready to harvest. And I'll definitely do a video once I get to the harvest point because it is pretty fun. The auto shed frames work really, really well that I've seen before. So I'll definitely do a video once we get to that part. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop off my super. And they do definitely glue everything together. I'm going to pop off the super here. There we go. Okay. Slide it over here. Hopefully not squish too many bees in the process. Then I'm going to pop off my queen excluder. So this keeps my queen from going up into the super, because if she did, instead of storing honey up there, they'd be growing bees up there. So pop this off. Looks like we've just got some bees chilling in there. A little bit of some comb that they're building in here. Just squishing this down a little bit because I'd prefer for them not to build comb where they're not supposed to. But they do love doing that. You'll regularly find them pretty much putting comb everywhere they possibly can. So I'm going to put my little hook on and see if I can't pop out some frames. Pretty much every time you come in here, they're going to have re-glued everything together. So you kind of have to separate it all. For me, that's honestly like the most time-consuming part of checking the hive. Once you get the frames loosened up, getting them in and out and checking doesn't take too long. But trying to free them up from each other can be challenging. So let's see if I can't use my tool here and get my first frame up. Ooh, there we go. All right. Woo. So lots of bees here. This one is largely pollen, nectar, and all of this here is capped honey. Similar on the other side, pollen, nectar. You can see pollen of all different colors, yellow, red, orange, and then capped honey on the side. So I'm going to put this into my little holder the same way it was to help me remember which way it went. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my other frame, my next frame. Ooh. So this one looks like we have, again, capped honey on the edges. Typically the brown here is capped brood. So similarly on this side, a little honey on the edges, pollen and nectar, and potentially some capped brood in the middle. And look at this one. This one's interesting. So this is you can see a little bee getting ready to pop out there. So getting ready to have a new bee. All right, put that in. All right, so now I'm going to keep checking, see if I can't find my queen. Typically, I'll find her near concentrations of brood. She tends to stay near the middle. So that's where I'm going to kind of focus my attention and see if I can't locate her there. We shall see. All right, so we have here pollen, capped honey, brood. Very similar to what we had seen for the third frame in. All right, this one is a little bit different. So when you have the rounded up brood, that's typically for drone bees. So that's bees that are male. So those are from unfertilized eggs. So it looks like she's producing some drones, which isn't too surprising. Typically, over the winter, they kill off all the drones because they don't do anything for the hive. So they kill them off so that they don't have to keep them alive over the winter. So they do have to then create more. And then what I have here, and this is what made me think that my hive may have swarmed. This is a queen cell that looks like has opened. So it is very likely that I have a new queen somewhere in my hive. So I'm going to have to be on the lookout for her because my old queen had a beautiful green dot on her, which made it really easy to find her. Not always super easy. She can still be tricky to find, but easier than not. So if this is a new queen now, then she will not have a green dot, and she will likely be more difficult to find. So we'll have to, there's another, that's a swarm cell down there. You see the big one that looks like a peanut? That's a swarm cell, so that's a possibility. Oh, and I found my queen. Fairly sure. See if I can show you to her. She's right there. She's about twice as large as everything else. She's just kind of moving around doing her business. So that is likely my new queen right there. So since we have a new queen, what I might do is just squish these little cups. These little cups are for new queens. And since I don't want a new queen, since I've got one, I'm going to squeeze them up and hopefully prevent another swarm. All right, so leave that in there. Let's see what else we got in here. So since I found the queen, I'll probably just do a quick check. Make sure everything's looking good. I am seeing some queen cups, which is like kind of preparation areas for new queens, but they haven't been used. There's no larvae in them. So that means sometimes like these will just create cups just as kind of like just in case, like, oh, if we need to make a queen real quick, we can do that. But I'm not seeing anything in them. So I don't think that we have an issue quite yet. But considering how many that we have a new queen, there's still a ton of bees in here. The frames are pretty full. I definitely am going to have to keep checking this pretty regularly to make sure we don't have any issues. I'm also seeing large quantities of honey and nectar being stored, so we could be at a point to where oops, the queen hasn't really started producing too much yet since she's new. So just another reason to keep an eye on the hive on a more regular basis at this point. Make sure she's doing well, is healthy, and is producing brood. All right, let's see how we're doing here. Take these last 4 frames real quick. Make sure we're looking good. Still some queen cups and things like that, so that queen cup's empty. Those are all empty. Oop, here's another. What do you got here? Yeah, definitely have to keep an eye on it. This is cat brood, so I mean that's good to see that that's there, but I'm not seeing a ton of. Oh gosh, look at all these queens, these swarm cells. That's crazy. This one's open, and these are closed. So, I'm trying to see what I can do to prevent another swarm. All right, I'm gonna check these last 3 real quick and see if we can't get this hive back together. All right, nectar, pollen, honey. Whew, more swarms, whales. And mostly nectar, pollen, and honey on these edges. These are not super happy with me at the moment. All right, last one. It's stuck. And it is heavy because it is full of honey. Yep. So, alrighty. Well, so I found a new queen. So that's a good indicator that my the swarm that I caught was likely from my hive. But if I have a new queen, then we hopefully are in good business. I'll just have to check over the next weeks, check pretty regularly to make sure that she is producing eggs. Um, so once she gets going, it looks like everything's pretty full right now, either with nectar, pollen, honey, or capped brood. So as what's already in there, with the new bees already come out, and she has more room. Hopefully we'll be able to see in the next couple of weeks. Check and see for eggs, which kind of look like really small pieces of rice. You tend to have to hold the frame up to the sun a little bit to be able to really see that. Or the larva. So we'll keep checking that because that's what's really the indicator that your queen's doing well, is that you can see both the larva and the eggs going. So that means it's a really healthy queen. All right, so I'm going to just try to squeeze, come on bees, my frames as close together as possible. That squeezing them toward the middle kind of helps them build their comb correctly. Otherwise, they'll build it all over the place. All right, so we've got that on. I'm going to put on my excluder. I'd like to say that I can do this without squishing any bees, but I'll squish bees. It's just the way that it is. Sometimes blowing on it works. They don't really like carbon dioxide, so typically I'll do that in order to do it. All right, so queen excluder is on. Next one is super. Only trick with this one is to make sure that when you get the super on, that there's no gaps there. Because the nice thing about this one is that you have viewing windows both on the sides and on the back here. And so I like to be able to open it up, but if there's any gaps here, the bees will pop through and sting you pretty hard. Last time they stung me in the forehead, so trying to prevent that. So making sure there's no room there. So I'm going to pop this little frame cover back on. Pop this part back on. Put on my screen to keep them inside the hive instead of going up into the cover, and put the cover on. And there you are. That is a hive inspection. So gonna have to keep at it and check on them. But overall, some good potential there. And then I'm gonna have a new nuke coming next week, so we'll be able to do a video of installing a nuke next time. Thanks, guys.